Greetings, our Frederick Riddle here with another episode of Christian News and Views. This is episode 2635, and this is Monday. Well, I've entitled today's episode as Facts. And the reason is I'm going to read a letter that purports to list the facts about President Trump's accomplishments. And it's appeared in today's newspaper, and I'm going to be reading it right out of the paper itself. And I will comment as this goes on. This is one time where I'm going to do both, but I will let you know when it's a comment, okay? And I'm not the Associated Press. You will know the difference. So, this is it. Editor, I have long wondered why MAGA supporters can be so loyal to an ideology that requires lying and misrepresenting the truth. An excellent example was in the Daily Sun's letter to the editor that listed great successes of Trump and MAGA. In one letter, the writer listed the great achievements by Trump since taking office. The following is that list, and next to it, the facts. Number one, border closures and thousands of criminal aliens deported. Fact, Bush, Obama, and Biden had higher numbers in deportation of criminal and illegal aliens than Trump. Now, here's my opinion on that. That part is probably true. What the writer ignores and plays a big role in this whole thing is that under Trump, the border has been closed. Percentage-wise, it says zero. Now, that can mean a zero, as in flat, nothing, or it can mean just a few thousand or whatever. My understanding of it is zero, it's flat, as far as the illegal immigration is concerned. And that is one of the reasons, in fact, a very big reason why the other presidents have had huge deportations. They had millions under Biden. In fact, it was millions upon millions of illegal immigrants coming into this country. And yes, as a result, he could deport a whole lot more than what Trump has deported. And by the way, President Trump just finished last January, his first year, as opposed to 4 years of Biden and 4 years, or actually 8 years of Obama. So you have to take all that into context. But the fact of the matter is, he's deporting less, but the deportations are of those who are already in the country, who have been living here illegally, and now they're being deported. And so this is very selective on the writer's part, which I think you're going to see this repeated over and over. Number two, full tax cuts on tips, overtime, and Social Security. Fact, no such tax changes have happened to date. To some degree, that is true. Again, we have a selective statement of a fact. These are part of his program, part of his plan. Some of them have to go through Congress to be approved. And so the writer apparently is faulting him for not going through Congress, but he is. The other thing of this is being selective is that, even though the writer is saying the current term, to really understand Trump, you got to look at both terms, first and second. And in this first term, he did deliver on that. He did reduce taxes. That's a fact. I'm being selective in my responses, true, but it's still a fact. Number three, no taxpayer-funded sex changes. Now, this one I didn't have a chance to do any investigating on. The fact is, that they point out here, or the writer does, no sex changes have ever been recorded using taxpayer monies. So we do know that abortions were tax funded. They supported organizations that supported abortions. Well, the same, not necessarily the same organizations, but same type of organizations which support sex changes, some of them were receiving money. So it's indirect, is what I'm trying to say. Again, I didn't have the opportunity to go into this in depth. This just happened today. So, but when you look at it, they're talking about no direct support. I think if you look deep enough, you'll find that there was indirect support. And so that's I'll give them on that one. I'll give them a little bit credit on that because, but it's again, it's being selective, and it's hard to refute because of that. Number four, canceled electric vehicle mandates. This is interesting. In fact, Trump did cancel the electric vehicle mandates, as he has in most positive clean air mandates. Congratulations, we have sacrificed clean air for profit. Now, I don't know if this person is living in a dome and a bubble, so to speak, and not aware of what's going on in the world, but it just sounds like it. A lot of times these clean air mandates or cleanness mandates, all these different little mandates that came in, they always proposed, promoted them as something good for the environment, so on and so forth. Often um, very, trying to think of the word I want to say, it was refutable. The question, questionable. They would cite facts that didn't hold up when investigated. They would make claims that didn't hold up when investigated. They did a lot of things in promoting these acts, clean air acts, and so forth. What Trump did, and what any um, intelligent conservative would do, is he eliminated them because they weren't doing what they were supposedly supposed to do. They weren't having the results. And in fact, in some cases, like the coal industry, they were damaging the coal industry. A lot of coal mines were being shut down and so forth. Since Trump came in, there has been some movement along that line of removing some of these mandates, but also substituting for them other, now I wouldn't call them mandates, but they're rule changes and things of this nature, which are giving from what I've heard, is that they've given some life to the coal industry. We need the coal industry, folks. I know gets a bad rap, but some of these are fixable. For instance, the dust and so forth that goes through and onto the cars and our bodies and things that if you happen to live near a coal mine or a processing plant or whatever. There are new rules and refined rules and things of this nature to attack those symptoms, or you can go further, those problems, and clean them up. Excuse the use of the word there, but clean them up. And that's always a good thing when they can do that without having to shut down and destroy businesses. When you destroy businesses, you also destroy lives. There are a lot of people, like in West Virginia, who depend upon the coal industry. And with the coal industry going down, the whole economy of that state goes down. And so that is something that the Biden administration and others didn't look like they paid much attention to. So we'll move on. Number 5, reduced murder and criminal activities in major cities. Now, this is a fact. Murder and criminal activities have been declining dramatically for the past 25 years. That's a fact. Okay, let's say that's true. The fact of the matter is, prosecutions and things of this nature are taking place. The problem is that a lot of times courts are battling against some of these changes. Lower lower courts come out with these decisions, work their way up, get to the Supreme Court, and they're shot down. Now, I don't mean the Trump administration's policy shot down. I mean the lower courts shot down. But that doesn't stop the lower courts from continuing to do this. And they do it on not just the crime area, but other areas as well. They call it activism. And some of these judges are very active in their opposition, and so they go beyond what they're supposed to go. The correction needed here is the courts need to be either restructured, or, my understanding, some of these courts can be just eliminated, and maybe that's a good thing to go for. Okay. Number 6, reduce gasoline costs, increased oil production, and diminishing inflation. And here's the fact as they reported. There is no evidence to support any reduction of gasoline prices, increased oil production, or diminished inflation. If anything, the numbers say the opposite. Well, this I did have a chance to investigate. Now, I live in Port Charlotte, Florida. When Biden was president, the cost of gasoline was well above $3 a gallon. I'm thinking it was above $3.50. I didn't look this up to verify it, but as I recall it, it was, because I always had to keep track of it for my own benefit, and it was, I believe it was above $3.50. But in any case, it was trending upward. Now, gasoline prices go this way. They go up, down, like that. So you had to look at a range. And so that range was constantly going up each year. It was easing up a little bit more, and a little bit more, and it'd go up, and then it'd go down, and then it'd go up and go down. Well, it still fluctuates. And it will always, as my understanding is, will always fluctuate. But now, for instance, I was noticing the gas prices yesterday. And here in Port Charlotte, I saw one gas station, $2.83, I think it was, like that. $2.83. Another one was on a higher range, was $2.93, something along that, a 10-cent difference. So in any case, there is a range even within a community, but there's also a range going. Now, at one time, it kept coming down under Trump. Again, he's only a little bit past his first year, folks, and the prices have been coming down ever since he took office. They were down at one point and stayed there for a while, and that was at a high range of $3.19, and then dropped down to $2.99 or something like that. Now it's down to, the high range is in the 290s, and the low range is down in the 280s. And so it still goes like this, still fluctuates from station to station, for that matter. Depends, I think, on where they fit on the route, their distance from their oil processing plants and things of this nature. But the prices range, and they will go from one day to the next, and you can have it and go up and down. And so this is something that all you gotta do, folks, is drive down the street and look at the gas prices. California, they're high, but they're lower than they were. New York, you go all over the country and you see this happening. Now, they might be higher than another state, and so on and so forth. I'm going by what's going on here in Southwest Florida. But when you look at the whole United States, they're fluctuating at a lower rate than what they were under Biden. And so the author of this letter is way off base. To say there's no evidence to support, and all you gotta do is go to the gas station. That's gasoline prices. I didn't check out the increased oil production, but that might be that would be suggested. Prices do fluctuate based on, that's one of the factors they're based on, oil production. So that's probably been increased. Diminishing inflation. Now here, I looked this up. In Trump's first term, he had a 2.46% inflation rate. That's for 4 years. Biden had it 4 years at 2.95%. 2.46% for Trump, 4.95% for Biden. Since Trump came back in office, it's been 2.4%. That was in January. And so this is an example, folks, of how the liberals like to very selectively get their facts. And if they're not correct, if they don't have the facts, they make them up, and they don't say it. It's their opinion. They're saying it's a fact over and over again. That's the word, fact, fact, fact. And it wasn't. It was their opinion, maybe, and they're entitled to their opinion. But when you're very selective like they were, or this lady was, then you you don't give out, they're not going to give out good information. The truth of the matter is we have benefited from under Trump. 1 year in office, and we've already seen some significant changes. Yes, there's been some bumps along the road, especially with the trade. And then now the Supreme Court has shot down one of the things that was helping him on setting the tariffs. But Trump already has a plan in place for that, and we'll just see how that goes forward. But the thing is, you never know what the courts are going to do. But the thing is this, that under him, he's got a long-term and short-term. He's had some short-term successes. He's also having a long-term plan. And so the only fair way of looking at him is when you get down there at the end and look back. But right now, what it looks like to me, looking at it, I'm very pleased with what he has done. Yes, there's been some bumps. Yes, inflation has wavered back up and down. But basically, I mean, inflation rate at 2.4% for January. And that's January of this year. For last year, I believe it was in the same area. But when you look back at his first term, it was 2.46%. And so it went way, it doubled, basically it doubled under Biden. So I don't know where this woman got her facts from, probably the Democratic Party. But the thing is this, the facts support Trump rather than the other way around. It gets to be very flexible, and it depends on where in the country you live as to how these things are playing out. But when you step back and look at the nation as a whole, then I think you have to be generally pleased. It's like the polls on Trump. You keep hearing polls, oh, the people are turning away from Trump and so on. So these polls are the same polls that said he was not going to win in 2016. And then he was not going to win in 2023. Or 24 was when he took office. But the thing is this, that he has, these polls have not been accurate. Why are they not accurate? Well, for one thing, they're selective again. There's that word again. Who they poll. They tend to poll Democrats. Oh yeah, they'll bring in some Republicans here just so they can say they do. But by large margin, they are Democrats. They also bring in people who are not necessarily citizens yet. They also bring in people who are not around anymore, folks. They're 6 feet under. And corruption is just the name. I think, in my opinion, it's their middle name. But the thing is this: we have a record now, a real record, that Trump is doing what he said he would do. And yes, there are bumps, but those bumps tend to disappear over time, and the trend is very positive. Well, I hope this has been informative, encouraging, and maybe even inspirational. So, and by the way, this is brought to you by TNR Independent Books, a Christian indie publisher, where we publish books with a Christian worldview, and we will teach you how to write, and we will, if you're an active Christian in your church, then we want to have you as our client. We want to publish your books, make you into a published author. Well, you have a great day, and I'll see you in the next episode.